Jeff, you're a sabermetrician for Fangraphs. You publish original research. What do you think about the statement that sabermetrics is a new science?
I guess it could be considered a science. It's just stuff that hasn't been explored before, and some of the stuff is new to sabermetricians, and some stuff, the science can be used to evaluate players that's been around for a while. Certain statistics can keep being applied, can keep being used in different ways. It's kind of just a baseline. I think one thing I look at is actually new stuff, questions that haven't been answered.
So how do you, in that process of coming up with new questions, how does that look? How do you go about thinking about new questions to ask?
A lot of times just like watching a game, or sometimes you'll just hear an announcer say something like, "This would be great," and it's like, well, maybe we can look that up. Maybe we can see if it's true. And a lot of the axioms that people would say, like, oh, his defense saves, a run a game. It's like, well, one player is probably not saving one run every single game. It's like, it may vary, but it's just trying to find maybe what people are saying or what you may think is true and actually figuring out if it is. And like I said, kind of just the more I get involved, probably the more questions I have.
So talk about the beginning, the entry into sabermetrics. What did that look like for you?
I started out originally, actually, me and my wife both had a job, and we were both getting paid about the same, and I was working about 18 hours a day, and she was working 8. So we kind of looked at this and like, you're just working too much. You'll quit, and I'll do it, and we'll try to figure something else out, because we had a 2 and a newborn at the time. So I kind of became a stay-at-home dad. The kids had to take a nap. So during their nap every day, I would kind of read and research and just start doing initial research type stuff, and it just kind of exploded from there. I don't know if it really exploded, but I've done more and more as time has gone on.
Well, I'd consider you to be one of the more prominent writers and publishers of new research in the field. So can you talk a little bit about how the actual questions have changed, or the research has changed, or the scholarship, if you will, has changed, either in the time you've been working or even before that, maybe when you were just reading some of this material? How have you seen the arc of scholarship in this field?
I think there's some more acceptance of it. When I first got in, it was some of the initial defensive stuff was just coming out. WAR was just starting to get its framework, and people were still trying to guess how much better a second baseman should be rated than a catcher or than a first baseman. So it was kind of like, I was during that time initially when people were kind of arguing over that, but it just kind of seemed like their answers were close, and I kind of moved off to other stuff like stadium factors, and it was like weather and looking at information like that. And it's kind of like one thing with the weather that everyone thinks about is it's always the humid stuff at the coasts, or why the people don't hit home runs. It's like it's the humidity. It's humidity, like nothing to do with humidity scientifically. It's just because it's colder. It's next to the West Coast or the Pacific Ocean. If you look at the temperature, it's like 10 degrees average colder in Oakland than it is in Kansas City or St. Louis. It's all based off temperature, and it's not as obvious until you start digging into it and trying to find some of the answers.
So when do you think you first started looking at any of this kind of research? What was your first initial entree into baseball? Or
it was a really horrible article I wrote on. I submitted to Hardball Times, and they sent it back, Dave Studman, and he was like, "What is this?" And what I looked at was pitcher consistency. Did it matter? And it just took me so much time, and I felt so bad, and looking back, like, it was horrible. But it was like, it at least let me get a baseline, and I started moving forward and just starting to answer other questions. And here at this conference, at the SABER conference, actually, Bill Petty's actually taken it a step further and found a lot more, and actually given a presentation. But I just don't think I had as much information then, but I learned more off that article doing it than I learned of anything else. It was just a lot of trial and error, a lot of figuring out what to do. And like I said, it's probably my proudest article, but there was just a lot of issues with it.
But you obviously had a learning curve through this.
Right.
The whole process of this
like,
research.
And you kind of learn, I hate to say not what people want, but actually trying to figure out the answers and seeing if there is something missing. Because I mean, my last article that I just ran in the Hardball Times was trying to get the speed component out of isolated slugging. Everyone like ISO's power, and it's like, no, there's actually a speed component because, you know, Billy Butler hits the ball in the gap. He's only going to first base. He's out of breath. He's at first base. He's, you know, one base at a time. Where someone else hits the ball the same way, they may be looking to turn it into a double. And it's like, it's not because they hit for more power. It's because they have more speed. So I was always been wanting to do that, and finally got the time and found a solution to that question.
Oh, good, good. Well, I'll look forward to reading that. I haven't read that one yet. That sounds interesting. So there's this course we're teaching. You know, we're going to offering it to anyone. It's open. It's free, and so we expect a lot of students are going to sign up who are baseball fans who want to learn more about sabermetrics. We expect we're going to get a lot of technical people who know some of the technical pieces, but want to learn more of the, you know, the process of sabermetrics and what's been done. What do you think about that just general notion that now there's academic courses on this? There's
I think it's exciting. I think that I think if with like any subject, there's going to be people that'll know more. Some people will know less. Some people will bring in their own ideas of what is right or not, and I think you'll have arguments over that. It's I think that the more I've learned, the less I actually use. It's like I've kind of found out that it's like with pitchers. It's like if you just give me their strikeout weight and their walk rate, I can get about 95% of how good that pitcher is going to be. There's some periphery stuff, but I mean, that's pretty much the key, is can they strike batters out and can they not walk them? Mm-hmm. I mean, it kind of sounds simple, but it's like you go out to all these large tangents and you can come back, and it's probably one of the best metrics is looking at like strikeout walk. It's like a FIP type indicator with that. You can even remove the home runs from it, and it's just as good an indicator as FIP is.